All right, so we're going to go over how I have the Redarc BCDC1225D set up in my 2021 Tundra. All this would be applicable to 2007 to 2021 Tundras because they don't have a smart alternator, and they also have Toyota's bed rail system as an option. You can, if you don't have it, you can buy it and install it yourself. So I have this set up. This is my house controls for the bed of the truck. It's on this plywood panel that I built. The whole premise of this panel was to make it so I can completely remove the system if I needed to utilize the whole truck bed, which is pretty rare, but it is removable because I wired everything into Anderson SB50s. So let's go over the Redarc controller first. What makes the Redarc controller so awesome, other than its price, it's incredibly expensive. I think I paid $465 for this. The Redarc controller handles everything. It's got a solar input or solar charger. It's an MPPT charger that's really efficient. My 100 watt panel, I've seen as high as 85 watts going into it when conditions are ideal. It accomplishes DC charging off the truck's alternator. This one is the 25 amp model, so it can handle 25 amps. Well, it doesn't handle it. It puts out 25 amps of charging to your house battery. It's super simple to wire in, and there's no apps, there's no weird configuration stuff to do. You just wire it in and use it. Your battery type selection is done by jumping these wires. I have it set up for lithium right now by jumping the orange and green wire. This blue wire would be for if you're at a vehicle with a smart alternator. Tundras don't have that, or at least the second gens don't. I'm sure the third gens do for EPA regulations. But the second gens don't even need this wire. I just capped it off in case I needed to use this unit in a more modern vehicle. So it's set up for lithium battery right now. How I have this configured so that I can easily remove it from the truck. This is the input from the truck. This is wired straight to the starting battery. There is a MIDI fuse holder on the starting battery side. I just mounted it to the fuse block cover that's under the hood of the Tundra. Redarc recommends their own part number, which is a 40 amp MIDI fuse and holder. It is egregiously expensive for what it is. I used a Blue Sea waterproof unit. That's what I would recommend. You need a chassis ground. So I have it grounded directly to the chassis right here, through this wire here near the starting battery. So that makes it really easy. And then on the Redarc, well, let's go over the connections first. This is the house battery connection. It's on a gray SB50. There's my house battery. This is a Lifetime Group 24 Bluetooth battery. It's cheap, but it seems to work pretty good. The solar is on this yellow SB50 here. For now, I just use a portable panel. I have a panel in my driveway that I keep it connected to when I'm parked. But future, there will be solar mounted on the truck on a rack. The unit is then connected to this Blue Sea MRBF fuse block. I'm using this as a fused bus bar, basically. That's essentially what it is. It can handle a ton of current, but I just fuse these with 40 amp connections, or 40 amp fuses. So that's more than the maximum load that I'll ever use. And then house batteries connected up here. There's not a fuse on this one, but there is a fuse directly on the terminal of the house battery as well. So this whole system can be unplugged from the truck and removed as needed just by unplugging the 3 SB50s and then removing 5 bolts on the Toyota deck rail system. On the Redarc, what I appreciate about it is that it's simple and it handles everything. You don't need 2 separate units to do DC charging and solar charging. It seamlessly switches between the two. On a vehicle without a smart alternator, it just detects the increase in voltage from when the truck starts and immediately starts charging off the truck. And then it continues to monitor that voltage, and once that voltage drops back down when you shut the truck off, it disconnects from the starter battery. And then if you have solar connected, it'll actually prioritize solar charging over the alternator. I don't have solar connected while I'm driving, so that's not an issue. So yeah, again, it's expensive. but there's nothing out there that's this compact that handles both charging operations seamlessly. That's what I was looking for. If that's what you're looking for, this is probably a good fit for you. There are some caveats with the Redarc system. There's no monitoring, which if you needed to monitor your battery, you can get something like a Victron Smart Shunt, put it on the battery itself. That'll accomplish your monitoring tasks if you needed to do that. This lifetime battery with the Bluetooth accomplishes that. It's not as good as a Victron setup, but it's sufficient for this setup for me. The other caveat to this system is the solar control. It works really good, but it's also limited to a maximum voltage of about 28 volts. If you think about it, it kind of makes sense, because this unit can be used with 12 and 24 volt systems, and the alternator charger charging off of a 24 volt system is around 28 volts or so. If you exceed 28 volts on the solar charging, it just won't charge. It won't hurt the unit, but it just disconnects itself. You know, if you're wondering what system you might, or what scenario you might use more than 28 volts on solar, say you had two panels and you connected them in series, your open current voltage would exceed 28 volts. It could be, you know, as high as really like 48. With the closed circuit, it would probably be around 40 volts. So you wouldn't get any charging if they're connected in series. So if you're gonna run multiple panels with a Redarc controller, you need to wire them in parallel to keep your voltages below 28 volts. I mean, most of your 100 watt panels, open circuit voltage is, you know, about 20 to 24 volts. So you're good if you keep them in parallel. You know, if you're having long runs of wire, parallel is not the best, because you need heavier gauge wire to carry that amperage load, whereas series just gives higher voltage at the same amperage. But for a vehicle installation, parallel panels are fine. So yeah, this whole system is pretty simple. The wiring looks kind of a mess. I just routed it for the ways that it would work for me. Everything is fused, all lugs are crimped and heat shrinked, and you do that, you're good to go. As far as what I'm powering at this point, not a whole lot. I've got ARB fridge socket right here. I mounted it under here so it wouldn't be in the cargo area and couldn't get bumped. And then I've got a 12 volt socket right here to run 12 volt accessories. All I've ran off of that socket so far has been the Starlink, and it works really good. Future modifications to this are going to be basically a power supply that will step it up to 24 volt, so I can use the Starlink barrel plug directly off this. Probably just going to end up with a Victron Orion TR. They make a unit that's pretty compact that'll step up to 24 volts and 5 amps output, which is more than enough for the Starlink. That's about it. I'm going to add a second fridge socket on here. I have a small Engel fridge that I use for work, but for longer trips we use it as a freezer, and I'll have another socket on here for that as well. So that's basically this system. Is the Redarc BCDC1225D or bigger for you? Well, if you want simple, reliable, and just easy, it is. It's the only thing out here on the market. If I will say, if you've got the space to run a multiple units, you know, like say a Victron or Smart Orion TR and then a Victron MPPT controller, those might be a better option if you have the space and you have the need for more solar voltage. You know, if you're going to run two panels in series, that would be a better setup. But for me, this was the best option to keep this compact, because on the Tundras, above the fenders, you have this dead space right here. So all this is basically in this dead space behind the panel here. And then I'll flip this over. That's my fuse block for my house setup. I'm not super happy with this. I think if I were redoing this, I would actually get a covered box with a lid and then put the fuse box inside of that and mount it flush on the panel. But you know, as you mess with things, you see things you would change. Yeah. If there's any questions, comments, whatever, put them in the comment section. And until next time.